I looked up on the old Tennessean the other day, and I saw that my good friend, Representative Scott Cepicky, had offered a column in the Tennessean, and I thought, well, I got to read this. The headline, Tennessee is not heeding its physical education guidance. Kids need more recess. I don't know if you wrote the headline, but I know you wrote the piece, and it was a compelling one, and so we invited our good friend Scott Cepicky back on the show to talk about it. Hello, Scott.
Hello, everybody.
How are you?
Very good. Hey, I first want to say congratulations to you moving to the evening time slot.
It'll be fun.
I remember when Brian Wilson called me when he first came here, and there aren't many people bigger than me in life.
Brian Wilson is one of them. No question.
But just a stalwart, going home for people and just having consistency. And I think you'll do a great job in that time slot. And then, like I asked you earlier here, I mean, you and Bell are going through a separation, so who gets to guess?
It's like who gets the kids, Bell? Cepicky wants to know who gets the kids.
You can have him.
Wow.
He said, you notice, he said you could have him.
Emotional support pets here.
I mean, I think he's talking about you, Cepicky. I think he just threw you away yesterday's news.
He did.
That's awful.
And look, the support Cobra thing would have never been an issue if you hadn't have voted for that bill. So don't even start with me, okay? I still take my Cobra into Charlie's when I go in. It's in my pants now instead of its cage.
TMI. There's got to be some legislation for that right there.
I feel like
that's your problem, Cepicky.
I feel like all of this conversation has been building up to that joke for the last year.
Golly.
I've used it before.
Am I in a Saturday Night Live skit or something here?
That's better than that.
I no longer have control of this time slot. That's what's happening. Bell is slowly but surely squeezing the life out of me.
Is Ken okay?
Ken, are you all right back there? Ken will be all right.
I'm doing good, boys. I just do the news.
As long as there's not a wreck on 24.
That's right.
Exactly.
All right. So this kind of hits home, close to home to me, because I've thought this in my past, and you're now kind of putting it down on paper that obviously we've been focused on mathematics and science and English and reading comprehension and all of the things that are very important in our educational opportunities. And you feel like we have lost focus in physical education.
Well, I think that the issue you bring up, there is focus. You take these elementary kids and these middle school kids, they're still children. The average attention span of a child in elementary school is between 15 and 18 minutes. Some of our classes we do over 120 minutes of reading each day without only 15 to 20 minutes of recess. So we've come up with this looking at the data that suggests that if we get more recess time, it has some benefits to the student. Number one, it teaches them how to socialize on a playground when you know as well as I do, you don't get your way all the time. It teaches you how to talk to other people, how to negotiate a transaction of, okay, you get the ball for 15 minutes and I get to play with it. It also exercises them. We have a child obesity problem here. 27% of our kids in Tennessee are deemed obese right now. We need more physical activity. And the last thing you see is when you talk to teachers, the fidgets or whatever you want to call them when they're in class and they're just so antsy, they just got to blow off some steam. You can look at the academic success rates of states that have gone to increase recess time in early education, leading to better mental health for the children, less discipline problems in the classroom, and better academic success of the students.
So how does this translate into a proposal? What is the proposal look like?
We want to go to 1 hour a day of unstructured recess time where, they're not told that here's what they have to do. They go out and they just play, run around and play, exercise, play kickball.
And this is for grades what?
K through 5.
Okay.
K through 5. To get them more exercise time so that they can learn to be kids, help with their ability to get off some of this over-anxiousness, and then allow them to focus in the schools. There's studies out there that show that when children come back in from strenuous exercise, they're able to focus more in the classroom, which is going to garner us better educational results. And with all the money we're spending on tutoring, on summer school, on reading, on mathematics, right? We need students that are able to focus to be able to accomplish those tasks. And then another thing is, when you look at the teachers that are retiring right now after their first year, 50% of them are retiring because of the environment in the classrooms, of the disruptive nature of the students.
I think there's something to what you're saying, and people will think that I'm being flip when I say this, and I'm not. If I don't have kids, and so I don't experience children on this level, and I recognize that. But I have dogs, and if I'm not exercising my pets properly, they get what we call the zoomies, where it is just a matter of the dog is trying to blow off steam, and I don't think that human beings as biological creatures are much different in as much as kids need to get some of that energy out in some fashion.
As you know, with your dogs, if you don't get them out, they'll get into destructive behavior.
Sure, they will.
Same thing with these children, right? They don't get into so much of destructive, but disruptive. And that's one of the problems we have in our classrooms and that's why the bill with the cell phones, banning them in our classrooms, is to make sure that we have the ability for kids to focus on what we need them to focus on.
Okay, so the obvious response for those who might push back against this would be, well, Cepicky, we've got a reading problem, we've got a math problem, and you're wanting to take them out of the classroom and putting them in an environment where they're not really learning anything for an hour. How do you respond to that?
Well, I think what we're focusing on right now is quantity. What the recess bill allows them to do is focus on quality. If we're going to spend 90 minutes on reading, are we getting the quality in there? Or if we took a 15 or 20 minute recess break and bumped that down to maybe 55 minutes or 60 minutes, would we get better academic results because the kids are able to focus because they don't have that fidgetiness? I just made a word up there in education.
I like that. Fidgetiness.
So that they can focus on reading and being able to sit still and listen to what the teachers are trying to teach them.
So you believe that giving this hour, you'll get back more than you give?
Absolutely. And the studies and the data show that, yes, more physical activity will lead to better academic results.
Now, I understand that 2024 is a lot different than 1984. When I was in school,
right,
and when we were going out to recess, and even then, we had things like monkey bars, and we had swings, and I don't know that we live in a society that would be accepting of unstructured activity around some of the items that we had on the playground back in the day. What do you expect that this will cost in terms of expenditure on? Do we have these playgrounds in place at our elementary schools? Are they already there? Will this be a capital cost at all?
No, there should be hardly any at all. Most of these elementary schools are built with playgrounds for the kids. What it is, we got to allocate more time to let them get outside and take advantage of these resources. They're resources. These are resources to help these kids grow academically, grow mentally, and grow socially.
So is there, forgive my ignorance here, Scott, but that's why you're here. Is there no structure for recess time now?
There is. There's, I believe it's 120 minutes a week total.
120 minutes a week?
A week.
Well, that doesn't seem like a lot.
It's not. And when you talk to teachers across the districts, one of the things that they're opining for is to get more, or pining for, is to get more time for their kids to be kids. Now, you said in the 80s versus now, right? The one thing I can tell you, Matt, is the human body biologically hasn't changed at all. We still need our rest. We still need our activity. We still need the ability to focus. And what the recess has done is states that have gone to increase recess time have shown, number one, less disruptive behaviors in the classroom. Number two, better academic performance. And number three, better physical attributes of their students being in a more healthy mindset.
So I dig this. The other question would be, and this might be causing some consternation. Why should this come? Why is this a state level bill? Why should this not come from local districts? If it's a good idea, why not let the local districts do it?
One of the things the local districts have to adhere to is all the laws that we put in place in reading and mathematics and testing and evaluations. And so by putting those overlays in place, what's going to be sacrificed? Recess. And so by the state coming in and saying, hey, this is the minimum that we expect you to get kids out of the classroom so that they can become kids, they can exercise, they can learn and socialize better. If the district wants to impart more on that, that's on them. But what we want to say is this is important. This is going to help our academic testing and our students grow as a student.
So this bill will be introduced by you?
Yes.
Or has been?
It's coming.
It's coming?
It's coming.
Is it still the plan to introduce the cell phone ban bill in this legislative session?
Cell phone bill is House Bill 13.
Tell everyone about that hasn't heard about it.
So what we've done is we've seen we've listened to our teachers, listened to our administrators about the disruptive nature of having cell phones open use in the classroom during instruction time. I can give you all kinds of data and statistics that show that if students don't have access to their phones during instructional time, it'll lead to better academic outcomes because they're focused more. It teaches them to pay attention instead of that immediate gratification that our society has grown up with the cell phone. Now they're saying, no, put it away, and we're going to focus. And what the bill basically says is that during instructional time, cell phones will be prohibited in the classroom. They can put them in the pouches on the doors. We give latitude to the districts on how they want to come up to implement the law. Mm-hmm. And there are some districts like Warren County that has a total ban on them from bell to bell. If they want to go above and beyond this, we're fine with that. But we're setting a minimum standard that during instructional time, unless a teacher tells them to pull it out because of instructional relevancy, that you cannot have access to your cell phones.
On this front, I like the idea of taking the decision-making process out of the hands of the teacher, even the principal, even the local district, mm-hmm. and putting that in a higher authority.
Well, it gives them cover.
Legitimate, right? Because on the local level, it might be a little more difficult to help the kids understand that you're not allowed to have that. But if it's a blanket rule, then eventually I think the kids and the parents themselves will figure it out.
And we've seen these TikTok videos and things like that when teachers have pulled a cell phone away from the student and the student just basically loses control.
Freaks out. Yeah.
And so we have to do a better, and I have two boys, I have two boys, and I see the top of their heads staring at their phones all the time, and they've got to do it. We've got to do a better job, not only as a government, pseudo of how we're going to manage our classrooms, but we have to do a better job of teachers and a better job of parents of letting kids know you're spending too much time looking at your phone.
Well, what kind of a reaction have you gotten to the op-ed piece and the suggestion of the bill on recess?
Very positive so far. That they're asking about, are we going to extend the school day? And the answer is no. We're not going to do that. The cost, recess is recess. You already have places outside for recess. And then, Warren County has reached out to me, and they said they were willing to testify about the results that they've had in their school system, especially on the disruptive nature of the students going way down.
I'm trying to figure out a reason why someone would come at you against this. And I don't know that many parents will. Maybe there'll be some liability concerns.
Well, it's already covered already. When they go outside to play kickball and stuff like that.
So the difference between structured and unstructured is really negligible in terms of liability.
Because it's all supervised by a teacher.
Right. Sure. There's obviously going to be teachers outside supervising the random play of the kids.
Which would also lend you to believe that teachers getting outside in the fresh air once in a while with their kids is also good for them too.
Man, as long as Coach Waller isn't out there with the merry-go-round, Coach Waller almost killed us. It was his stated purpose to make a kid puke every recess.
That little spinny thing that you
and you get on, just hang on, and he sling you around.
And held on for dear life.
And you hold on for dear life, and I'm going to throw up. Yeah. Oh yeah, I remember it.
And that's where the term methylate or mercurochrome would come into your life, and you would learn the definition of what pain is.
Look, you know how much we appreciate you and your focus on education. I hate. Can you stick around and talk about choice for a minute? Do you have time?
Sure.
I know we said till 1:00, but I'm
for
extended.
For you, yes.
Extension of Cepicky time coming up, 52 after the hour. Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Son of a bitch.
And Cepicky was very gracious with his time. He kind of looked at me, he side-eyed me, said, "Yeah, I'll stay for another segment." Not for you though, Murphy, for the listening audience, and I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
So I have a couple of questions that I thought about with regard to recess and cell phones, but I'm going to hold those off for just a moment because I promised we'd talk about education choice. This thing came up last year. The Senate and the House seemed fairly close, but weren't able to get across the finish line. I think that ultimately, I don't want to waste time just to waste time, but I think that's a good thing because I think a lot of folks had an opportunity to sit down at a table to kind of better understand what our opportunity was here. And it feels like the House and the Senate are kind of simpatico when it comes to the direction of this thing come January. Am I right?
You're correct. I think the direction and the principle of what we are envisioning, what school choice is, I believe the House and Senate are going to agree on that. The governor has already proposed House Bill and Senate Bill 1. That is the first bill of the General Assembly coming up in about 30 days, believe it or not. We'll be starting on January 14th. And I think you're going to see a debate on policy and not politics. What is best for the kids, the students of Tennessee, and for that matter, the parents who get to choose what's best for their students?
I always like to catch folks up to speed. We've got new listeners in the audience every day. Tell them, and I know you talk about this all the time in your district and beyond. What is the scholarship at? What will it do? So
the premise of the scholarship is 20,000 scholarships in year one, 10,000 with a economic qualifier first. The other 10,000 are wide open to the whole state of Tennessee. I believe it's $7,500 that scholarship would be awarded to a student that take that money from a public school and go to a private school of their choice to help pay for tuition or whatever else other fees there are. And then if we had enough applications in year one that was over 20,000, then we would increase that 5,000 a year as we go on, subject to funding of the General Assembly. I think you're going to see some very good results. Remember the educational savings account we've already had going into year 3 now. I think you're going to see some educational outcomes that are going to look very positive for this. And I think you look at states around the country, some do it very well, some don't do it very well. We've looked at states that have had very good success. We've tried to incorporate a lot of those things. And some of the pitfalls you've seen in some other states, we've stayed away from.
So if you had to point, or if I asked you to point to a place where you feel like it's working fairly well, where would you point to?
Indiana, Florida. I think those are two of the leaders in the clubhouse right now. I think you've seen a tremendous investment, especially and also Iowa, for that matter. Since Iowa has come online, they've had 32, think about this, 32 private schools have been built in Iowa. Now, go ahead.
No, I was going to ask a question. 5814 is very adamant about this on the super text line, and you can ask any question of Scott Cepicky you want, and I'll try to relate those to him. Are there restrictions for families who have higher incomes?
On the first 10,000, there is. It's 300% of poverty for a family of 4, which is, I believe, roughly about a family of 4, about $160,000 a year.
So the same person then answered their own question before I asked the question, and said, if so, how is this not an entitlement program?
Well, it's a state benefit, obviously. We already award Hope Scholarship, Tennessee Promise, Tennessee Reconnect. We provide scholarships to students to go to school that qualify for it. I wouldn't say it's an entitlement at all. I think it's an opportunity that we already have for students to get a better educational outcome in their lives. We do it, Matt. If you're a special ed parent right now, you have a student who's a special ed, and you believe that your student isn't getting their needs met through the public school system, we already have a vehicle for them to pull that money and go to a private school. So school choice is not new in Tennessee. It's been going on for a while. It's just been relegated to the special ed division. We're just going to open up to say, hey, let's open up to all the kids.
Will this be the first conversation point, discussion point, debating point in the General Assembly? And I'm hearing from a variety of sources, and you can, confirm, deny, or say, we don't know yet. I mean, you'll answer it the way you answer it, but I'm hearing that there may be an effort to make sure that you guys in the General Assembly handle this by itself before handling any other matters.
Yeah, I would prefer that this be handled in a special session.
Explain to people how that would work if that's the way that it happens.
So Governor Lee has the ability to call us into a special session for a specific problem or a bill. The governor could enact a special session. Even though we're going into session, he can call us into a special session that operates outside of the norm. And then we can take this bill up, and we can do it in a matter of in 3, 4, 5 days. We can just focus on the policy at hand in front of us on this one bill, and then get it right and get it passed, and then go back to the normal General Assembly and pass all the bills we normally pass or debate.
So I always bring this up because invariably, if if folks who are listening have not heard our previous conversations, they wonder why I haven't asked. And that's this, that the conservatives that I hear that have some level of consternation about the bill are concerned that this will give opportunity for the state to involve itself further into private education. You've answered this question quite a bit on this show, but I offer you another opportunity to speak to that.
Sure, that's a great question. So one of the things we've heard unequivocally from the homeschool people is they don't want to be involved in this because they're scared of government interference. And so in the governor's bill, like we had last year, we have totally written homeschoolers out. Now, I know there's going to be some homeschoolers that don't like that, but when we get letters from the Homeschool Association, we have to respect those. And so we have. We respected their wishes. I lost my train of thought.
Just in regard to private education, private schools, and the government having... the government has a level of connection with private schools anyway.
And so in the bill, I notice on page 10 out of 11, it talks about that this in no means gives us any more purview into private schools. It also creates a buffer between the government and the private schools, maintaining their autonomy in their curriculum, their textbooks, and what they want to teach. All we're requiring them to do is that if they accept one of these students, that they give them a nationally normed, recognized test for each grade level so that we can look at it. Most of these academies or private schools, they are accredited through a national organization, and they give them nationally normed tests for third grade through fifth grade through ever. So that's all.
You mentioned something, and I don't know if I'm supposed to know this or not, but that there are some other aspects to the overall legislative education package involving teacher bonuses. Is that right? Tell me about that.
So the governor has proposed that every teacher through what we define as a certified teacher, for lack of a better word, I'm not going to get into the details on that, but it's in code. Every teacher will receive a $2,000 bonus across the state.
And that's for just as a thank you for their service to the state, in lieu of a raise? What is that for?
I have not heard the response from the executive branch, so I'll let the executive branch answer that question.
But that's a Bill Lee proposal.
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
Would that be a part of the scholarship bill, or would it be separate from it, or do you know?
So it's part of the bill. That part is on page 9, I believe. And it talks about there's 3 programs.
At least we're talking to somebody that knows the bill.
And so there's 3 proposals. Number 1 from the governor is that we create a floor rate. So the governor wants to make sure, you've heard about, well, if a kid leaves, we're going to lose our funding, right? Okay, well, if one kid leaves out of a 12,000, let's say in Murray County, we have almost 13,000 students. If one kid leaves, is one kid going to collapse the whole system? The answer is no. But the governor wants to maintain that if that child leaves, that the state will make them whole. Okay, we can have that discussion. The second part is the $2,000 bonus for every teacher. That's in the bill also. We can have a discussion about the merits of that. Do we at the state want to pay a teacher who's the teacher of the year and a teacher that's maybe the worst teacher in the state going to get fired? We want to give them the same bonus. I think we need to let the locals make that decision. And then the third part is we have the gambling proceeds, I'm talking about, through online betting. It's roughly about $80 million a year. The governor has proposed taking that $80 million and using it for counties that are economically distressed. I think there's 8 of them left in the state of Tennessee, I think, or counties that have been declared disaster areas, to use that money to help in their school system to rebuild schools and upgrade schools. It also gives the treasurer control over that money, that if he deems it, that he wants to assign it, Treasurer Lillard, if he wants to assign it to a district that is not one of those 2 categories, he still has that authority to.
So going back to the scholarships, did I just hear you say that right now the language is $2,000 per teacher? You
mean the bonuses?
The bonuses, rather. That you would prefer it be more of a block to the school districts.
Yeah, I think,
and let them allocate it in a manner of their choosing.
Right, because they know their teachers better than we do. They know who is more deserving than someone else.
Right,
and let them do that. I think you allocate.
You don't want to. I'm not saying that. The vast majority of teachers are high performing.
Yeah,
but we don't want to reward low performing teachers in the same manner that you reward high performing.
It would,
and the local system would know that,
right? And it would kind of put some stress on the whole system. Is these teachers are all getting paid the same bonus, and some of them are like, well, I'm doing a lot more work, so let them figure that out.
Would it surprise you if this scholarship babies not to bed by March.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I firmly believe that the way you do this so that as a state we can have unbridled focus on one thing to debate and it's a big issue, right? This is a big issue. I think we have to give it its just deserve to focus on this intently to make sure we get this policy right, because there are states out there, and I'll give you an example like Arizona. They went from, I think, $150 million one year to over $1 billion. We need to focus on
but
this.
They didn't. They had no caps.
No caps. And so that could be a budget buster up here in Tennessee because we run a pretty tight ship.
I would remind everyone that Representative Scott Cepicky has offered an open invitation to our good friend, Senator Heidi Campbell, to speak on this issue on the radio show. I even offered to step aside and allow I'll name Ken Weaver as an example. Ken Weaver, our illustrious news director on Super Talk, who is an unbiased, he delivers the news. You know, he could ask the questions of you two regarding this issue, but Heidi has thus far declined.
I think she might be working on her talking point still.
Maybe so. Maybe she hasn't read the bill yet.
Maybe.
You know, like she claimed she had read before it was actually filed last time.
And if Senator Campbell's listening and we're incorrect, just call into Bell. I mean, that's her favorite person.
I like Heidi.
You know, and
I still get along with Heidi.
I mean, Heidi doesn't like me anymore, but I like Heidi.
Or even maybe Representative Bain and Bell.
Well, Afton Ben, I mean, I know how to pronounce her name. Cepicky might not, but you talking about Afton Ben?
Bain.
Is it Bain? It's not Bain.
That's what we call her.
Bain as in the character from
Existence.
Oh, I thought you were doing like a character reference to Batman and the Dark Knight.
No.
Destroying a city. Look, Afton has re-upped her proposal for an elimination on grocery taxes.
That one took a second, but it hit me.
What, the Bain thing?
Yeah, destroying a city.
Yeah, well, right. That's what I thought he was referencing. That she's going to see the city crumble from within. Look, she had the idea about the elimination of the state's grocery tax, and now I'm looking at some Tennessee. Representative Elaine Davis is proposing an elimination of the grocery tax.
Hold on there. Let's talk. If you want to talk about the legislation, I've read it. I'll be happy to talk about it with you.
You talking about Afton's?
Yeah, it's not eliminating.
Oh, no.
No, you're shifting
she wanted to take one from, right.
She wants to shift it to corporations, and I asked the question. I said, so if you're going to put this tax on the corporations to pay, don't you think they're going to increase their price of food on the people who are buying it? Which means they're still paying it.
We had Representative Afton Ben, who was
Let me clarify real quick, though. But Elaine Davis has one that just wants to eliminate it on the non-processed food.
Well, right. So we had Afton on last year when she made this proposal. And I thought it was a good way to introduce ourselves to a lovely young Democrat in Nashville, Tennessee. Okay. And I said, we're in agreement. I'm all about eliminating taxes. Let's go. Let's talk. And where she and I got at impasse is that I was like, no. You just have to save that money. You don't get to pass it along in a different way. And she could not understand the concept of corporations passing along an increase in doing business to their consumers. Could not understand it.
And she has a 401k, I'm sure, which she's doing off of corporations making money to make her profitable on her 401k. They're not going to eat that cost.
No.
They're going to pass it on to the people who are paying the tax now anyway. But now they'll be paying it through the price of the food.
Can I ask a quick question while Cepicky's here?
Whoa.
You know, there's such a big deal.
Came in hot, didn't he?
There's such a big deal right now about Trump's tariffs and what they're going to do. Mm-hmm. You know, and I agree, tariffs raise prices. Mm-hmm. But why is it that when Democrats start to look at things like a corporate tax, that's just magic. That never gets passed on.
Because corporations are evil, Bell. I mean, come on, man.
Well, that's fine, but you can't claim that tariff raises prices and then claim that business eats the cost when you raise corporate taxes.
China good, American business bad. That's a Democrat philosophy.
Man, our Bell, I could have you come in to testify, and you could bring that up to the committee, right?
Bring your Cobra.
Sure.
Bring the Cobra.
I'm not wearing a suit and tie, though.
Yes, you will.
No, not even a little bit.
He won't even do that for me.
I'm bigger than him.
He did it for somebody at the Christmas.
If that's the case, I'll bring my youngest in here.
I forgot to get the photo evidence of this, but I saw Bell in a coat.
Whoa.
like a suit jacket.
I'll text it to
That's
you.
like
First time I ever seen it.
That's like a Bigfoot picture.
And I know. I thought so too.
But
I said, what happened? And the first thing he said to me is, she made me wear it. That's the first thing he said to me.
30 days away, roughly, from the General Assembly getting ready to start.
Excited.
It'll be exciting.
Look, I don't know that you'll get any pushback from the recess bill. I mean, I think this makes real common sense to people that are thinking more and more about how we've allowed our children to get away from us, whether it's over vaccinating our kids or whether it's allowing. I mean, I think this will really resonate with people as a common sense solution to some of the anxiety issues and some of the the energy issues that kids have in school.
We are Tennessee.
There you go, buddy.